All right, we are live. It is Robbie Fox, Jack Mack, and Big Ev for the UFC 303 International Fight Week post-fight recap. Oh, there goes Ev, knocked out. First knockout of the pay-per-view. We are here, of course, brought to you by New Amsterdam Vodka, the best vodka in the business. They're the official vodka of Barstool Sports. They're also the official vodka of the UFC. You saw them in the octagon tonight. Find your wins with New Amsterdam. I think a lot of the fighters will be drinking New Amsterdam to celebrate tonight. You got a champion vodka. You matched up with any other vodka. It's a TKO. So whether you're catching the pay-per-view fight at your local bar or hanging out at home listening to us talk about it, celebrate your wins with insanely smooth New Amsterdam vodka. It's also the NHL draft out here, so I'm sure the Pink Whitney is flowing as well. Shout out New Amsterdam.
Yeah, Pink Whitney.
How we doing?
Pink Whitney guys were out at I think the Circa Stadium or whatever, and they had an event there with the Pink Whitney. Looked awesome. Fight.
I know. I felt bad. RA texted me tonight. He was like, "What are you doing in Vegas?" And I was like, "I'm at the fight, buddy. I can't swing it." But yeah, shout out the Spittin' Chicklets guys, Pink Whitney guys. And if you're not noticing, all three of us are in hotels right now. Me and Jack are both in Vegas. Different hotels though.
Different hotels. Fight card was below par, but all that being said, we had a phenomenal knockout, one of the best of the year, again from Poatan, and then we had one of the wildest moments in UFC history for what happened with Dan Ige and Diego Lopez. So we have a decent amount to talk about. Could have been better, could have been worse. I had an awful night gambling, but is what it is.
Ev, what were your general thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, Poatan, he's just like cemented himself as superstar. Anik was saying like number one superstar. I don't know about that, but I'd say he's like undeniably top five. It was been the hands the whole time. Now he lands the crazy head kick. I mean, you already didn't know what planet he was on. He stood up. It was like scary. He was so. Herb Dean should have stopped it after the head kick.
After the head kick.
His legs went numb and did the where they roll back type thing. He was out, and the extra just was to make him we're just killing brain cells there. But he's unreal. And then Diego Lopez, my guy, gets it done. But Ige, it was one of those things where it was you knew even coming into that fight, it was there's no loser here no matter what happens.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Both these guys are
stock bros. Yeah.
And obviously, Ige should get obviously a ton of. Taking a fight on 3 hours notice or 4 hours notice is just preposterous. That he called for it, gets wind that Ortega's not going to fight, and is Hunter, give me the fight, I'm ready. He was supposed to fight in 3 weeks, and then he was the one with the gas.
Yeah,
he was the
Lopez,
great shape. As much as he's my guy. He was dying in the third round.
Yeah, if that's a 5-round fight, Dan Ige may win that fight.
I think he does, respectfully.
Yeah. He was pouring it on in the third round. It took him a couple rounds to get Lopez's range and get everything down, download the information, as people love to say. But by the third round, it felt like he knew, I have to fucking win this. I don't know what the corner said to him in between rounds, but he went for broke. He landed well. Some of the final shots he landed on the ground were even huge. He got hit with a pretty big up kick in that too. But yeah, the way that all unfolded was kind of awesome. The way it started trickling out tweet by tweet, and we were all what's happening? Something is happening right now behind the scenes, and we don't know what it is. And then you start to be is Brian Ortega going to be is fucking Diego Lopez about to fight Dan Ige? You find out it's at 165 pounds. Diego Lopez was at 146 on Thursday night, ready to make featherweight. He goes in and fights at fucking 165. He weighed in at 161 today. Just the way that they made that happen, the way that they actually had a fucking video package ready to go before it was insane. And it was a pretty good trailer for the fight too. They must have used different quotes from Dan Ige fights in the past, but shout out Zach Candido, the director, and all the production team that put that together. I would love to know who the actual guy was. And they probably sent someone into a closet and were here's some highlights. You need to make a trailer in the next half an hour. Let's go. But yeah, like you guys said, not the greatest card overall, unfortunately, but the main event allowed us to leave without a bad taste in our mouth.
Even the package, what they put in, they even found quotes from Dan Ige saying, "I expect this fight to be like this." It was awesome from the media team. When do you think they knew Ortega was out?
It had to be today. I think Ariel said they contacted him at like 4:30 Pacific time, right? So like it had to be fucking late. I think it was like 4 or 5 hours notice, legit.
Yeah, I was just thinking about from the perspective of, because obviously we heard about it when we heard about it, but at what point did it really go down? And with Ortega, the weight cut was brutal, but
Yeah.
did he not? Was he trying to wait till the last second? Was Hunter on the phone and whatnot? I don't know, but it was yeah.
Oh yeah, shout out
Unbelievable.
Hunter. Hunter's been on one this month. That guy's phones must be ringing every second, and he's probably making outgoing calls with the other phone that's not ringing. But yeah, he had a quote with Mike Bond today. He was like, what do you got? And I think Hunter was just like, I can't wait to sleep tonight. He's like, I literally cannot wait to sleep tonight. So shout out Hunter, Dana, obviously Dan Ige and Diego Lopez for making the fight happen. Do you want to just start at like the beginning of the card, kind of go through it, because we're not going to need to talk about every single fight on this card. A lot of them were not the best, but we did kick off with Vinicius Oliveira versus Ricky Simone. Interesting fight from Ricky Simone. I don't really know like if he was having an off night or what, but it was just a strange fight from him. It was weird. And also we had like extracurricular in that with Vinicius kind of pushing him after the bell. The final shot he landed in the third round is even a little afterwards, but they seem fine afterwards.
Yeah, Ricky Simone, just awful. He looks slow out there. Lee pointed out in our group chat that he's landed 2 takedowns in every fight in his career, including against Mario Batista just a few months ago. Didn't get what? He didn't get. Oh, he got one. He didn't get a second one. Yeah, man. Ricky Simone, that was brutal. Maybe he was hurt coming in, but if not, he may just, not to take away from Oliveira, but Ricky Simone, a guy that once had all the hype in the world, coming into that Uriah Faber fight, man. But
yeah,
I was really disappointed in him.
It was surprising. It was surprising to see him be that flat, but I will give Vinicius Oliveira one thing. He looked massive.
Yeah, he did.
I thought he looked just huge for the weight class. So I mean, maybe we might have a real contender. I mean, who knows? I'm very curious to see what direction they go with him next. I mean, if you're giving Ricky Simone in his second fight in the UFC, clearly you think highly of him. But
I mean, called out.
Who did he call out again?
In the post-fight presser, he said he wanted Umar.
Oh. Wow. All right, so he's saying like fuck, he's trying to be the I'll fight anybody guy. I can appreciate that. I mean, he has to get a ranked guy next, right? I mean, how does he not?
He probably will, yeah. I was thinking that probably like, 14, 15, 13, but like, yeah. We had the Tatsura fight, Tatsura and Carlos Hernandez. This is a fine fight. It was the crazy scrambles on the ground, kind of like insane grappling back and forth. But the thing that a lot of wrestling fans are talking about from this fight is that Shinsuke Nakamura walked Tatsura out, which is just awesome. He even walked out to like, I think it was the Lil Uzi Vert remix of Nakamura's theme. It like transitioned to that halfway through. And we were all saying like the media row where we were all looking at each other like he's got to walk out to Nakamura's theme, right? And then he didn't, but then it changed to it. So we were like, all right, a little, you got a little bit of it, but it was a fine fight, kind of fun to watch in terms of the grappling scrambles.
Yeah. Tyra, I think Carlos Hernandez really held his own. I agreed with the scorecard. I know some people were talking on Twitter that Hernandez may have won the first round. I thought Hernandez was a good bet.
I agreed with it. I thought he won.
Tyra, he's athletic. His striking, we didn't really get to see a lot of the striking. He's another one of these Japanese prospects we'll keep an eye on. And, I think he definitely was tired at the end. But Carlos Hernandez, I thought he was decent. But Tyra had him in some crazy submission attempts. Ev was
telling us stop saying, or not Ev. Lee is telling us stop saying Tyra. It's Tatsura.
It's Cesaro, I believe.
It's a hard name to say. It's late. Give us a break. We all watched the fight. We watched the fight.
Yeah, definitely. I think a decent underdog bet on Hernandez, but I don't know how much I believe in Tatsura. Like, long term. I guess we'll see. Not sold yet.
Yeah, no, I don't think I was sold from that, because also like the grappling exchanges were very fun to watch, but I don't know like how skilled they were necessarily. You know what I'm saying? Like it was very like throw each other. Oh no, Lee, I wasn't telling you calm down. I was just telling all the people. You're fine, Lee.
Suraya.
Yeah. Martin Boudet versus Andre Arlovsky.
Next.
Next. Let's not waste time talking about that one. Next.
Exactly what you should have expected.
Next.
The heavyweight.
Yes,
snoozer.
agreed. Snoozer.
Split decision.
Jillian Robertson beats Karate Hottie, Michelle Waterson Gomez, and then afterwards, Karate Hottie retired, and they actually had a pretty good video package ready to go, which I think they've only done that for like Robbie Lawler in the past.
Did she deserve that?
I think so. I saw some people questioning that on Twitter. She's been fighting MMA for 17 years, and she was kind of like I would say like a women's MMA pioneer in a way. Also, one of the first women to kind of break through in the UFC and like become a known name. Like she was in the ESPN like body issue. I remember that was like a huge deal at the time. People were like, "Oh my God, they're putting UFC fighters in it." So I thought that was obviously she wasn't like when I tweeted. I'm not gonna lie, I tweeted like great career, and then I backspaced great, and I wrote really entertaining career. And not to like talk shit, but she wasn't like she was never gonna win a title, I don't think. But I had a lot of fun watching her career through the years, Karate Hottie.
6-9 in the UFC is not great, but I will say she was a great company woman. It was on the prelims. Yep. It was what?
She also, before UFC, she was an atomweight fighter at 105.
Yeah, so I mean, I like her. She's obvious. I just don't think she would have gotten it if she wasn't attractive. But like that's a discussion for another day. Congrats on the great
it's the
career.
Bryce Mitchell. He said that's why they stopped your fight, because you're pretty.
Yeah, and
that was a funny clip this week.
I will say though, you have to give it up to her. Like she is she's been big for women's MMA, and ESPN body issue definitely helps and whatnot.
I mean, she took a lot of tough fights too. She fought Rose. She fought, she's fought some good contenders in her day.
Yeah, shout out
top 15.
Yeah. But congrats to Jillian Robertson. I saw in the post-fight presser, she's pissed that she's got stitches in her mouth because she can't smoke weed tonight. She's like, fuck. Peyton Talbot, first knockout of the card, and it came 19 seconds into this fight. So I was backstage for the Waterson-Robertson fight because I wanted to see Shinsuke Nakamura in the media room, which I missed him because he didn't come out yet. So I was like running out to the arena for the Talbot fight. As Bruce Buffer is announcing his name, I get out to the arena. I didn't even make it to my seat by the time the knockout happened. I was literally like about to sit down and the fight was over. I was like, holy shit. But yeah, I mean, he was a minus 1,600 favorite, so we expected this. But how many times have we been on the show and been like, they were a minus 1,600 favorite and they didn't look like it at all? Like he lived up to his odds. Took him 19 seconds. I think he could be the next big thing. I mean, obviously, his opponents haven't been the top level yet, but like I'm kind of still buying the stock on him.
Yeah, he did what he had to do tonight. I mean, I would say, over exceeded expectations, which is really tough to do as a minus 2,000 favorite.
Yes.
It was his first round KO in the UFC. I think he had a first round KO on the Contender Series, but obviously that doesn't quote unquote count.
I actually think the Contender Series was his only decision. I think he's 8-0 with 7 finishes, and I think he just got a decision on Contender Series.
So I'm excited to see it. I mean, he throws hard. He has his grappling actually could be a little bit better, but we'll see how far he can go.
Fighting for a few years too. He's got that story of like not even like watching UFC. He watched like Conor McGregor highlights at a sushi restaurant, and like 2 years later, he's fucking knocking people out.
He's also a polarizing character, which I would assume the UFC loves.
Oh yeah. Oh, definitely. His videos on the stripper pole, the painted nails, all that, the black hole in the center of his chest.
There's a video out there that's worse than all of them. That's all I'll say.
Oh, I'm not familiar with this video. I'll have to look into it.
There's a video of a vape. It's the worst video I've ever seen in my life.
Oh,
And
okay.
I wouldn't have brought it up, but I had such a bad night gambling that I'm just like, I'm
flashing out.
Send it to me later. I need to see this thing.
I mean, he's like, I said in the preview, the matchmaking to me felt weird in this one, but I mean, he's the Caleb Williams, he's the Jared McCain of the UFC. They need a guy like that. He's going to carry the torch for Gen Z.
He is.
I was in the casino when he knocked him out, and maybe it was just people who knew him, but people were going crazy. Like, they were like, Payne Talbot. I was just like, what? Did you guys see the clip? Did you guys see the clip of DC not knowing who?
I did see that. Yeah. I did see that.
That's just classic DC. I mean, who knows if he didn't really, but what a moment. That was Gamora. That I know he got knocked out. It looked like he didn't know how to fight. I don't know. It was weird. I'm not saying he took a fall, but he just looked awful.
We got an update from Lee from Dana's presser. Dana says it's Arlovsky's last fight. Says they will do whatever Ige and Lopez want for their next fights at the Sphere. Understandably so. They made this happen tonight. They should get whatever they want. You should fucking sign Chris Moitino back so one of them could knock him out at the Sphere or something.
Yeah. Honestly, I thought I don't know who tweeted off the card, but I thought just do Lopez Ortega. And
yes.
Ige Yair is a great fight. I love that fight. Would love
like
to
that
see
fight
that fight. I think those would be two great fights to make for the Sphere card.
Now, Ev, not to jump ahead, where are we fighting Lopez Ortega? What class?
145. I mean, it's in September. I say 145.
Yeah.
There's enough time.
Got it.
John Silva versus Charles Jourdain. This, I got to be honest, I'm an anti-Silva guy after this week. Very anti-Silva. Who does this guy think he is? First of all, he misses weight. And then the weigh-ins, he gave himself an Undertaker entrance. He thought he was The Rock. He took 10 minutes to get on stage. He started weeping on stage. It was the strangest thing I've ever seen. And then tonight, he gives himself a 10-minute entrance again where he's fucking intense, staring down the camera. I get it. Self-belief, you got to do that. Just after this week, I got a bad taste in my mouth over Silva. He got a good win here. I was rooting for Jourdain to win the fight, but obviously he's got the power, and he probably would have gotten nah. I was going to say he would have gotten a bonus if he didn't miss weight, but after this card, I don't think he probably would have gotten a bonus.
Yeah, that was his serious uppercut. Charles Jourdain, I feel like, has kind of just been disappointing for me for a little bit now. He's had great moments. After that Burgos fight, I really thought he was going to be something that was legit. But, yeah, what do you really say? It was a great knockout. All the antics after missing weight like he did is kind of cringe, but I get it. You got to sell yourself, make yourself known. The crying was out of nowhere. It was just
insane. He looked like Riggs at Pinehurst, like truly. He
looked so happy, and then it was just, he was weeping. I understand emotions can take over sometimes, but when he started crying, I was almost like, what? Did I miss something?
I started looking around like, is everyone seeing what we're seeing right now? This guy's just weeping on stage. Is it because he missed weight and he was upset with himself? Is he just, this is the biggest moment for, I don't know.
I mean, yeah, the UFC fight number 2, like it wasn't his first one. I mean, it's weird because he is an exciting fighter. Like he said before the fight, he doesn't want to brawl with me. That's a bad idea. And he was right. You don't want to brawl with him. He definitely has big time pop in his hands. He's a big fighting nerds guy. It's still, their camp's on the come up, but it's still, I don't know, just the fighting nerds thing, just throwing on the glasses with the tape after. I guess it's their signature, good for them, but I don't know, not
Rogan made me laugh at that when he pointed it out. He was like, "Those glasses are from the fighting nerds," which is pretty funny. I think Rogan said that on the mic. Someone in the chat, Abraham, said, I don't think there's a fight worthy of the fight of the night. I sort of agree, but like after tonight, you just have to give it to the co-main event, I think.
Yeah, 100%.
Just out of principle. Up next was Andre Feely and Cub Swanson. Pretty good scrap here. I saw some people disagreeing about the decision here. It was a split decision. I thought Feely did enough to win, though. I thought that and Cub fought a much better fight than I thought he was going to.
Yeah, great. I wouldn't say great fight. It was decent. It was just, it felt like there was so many decisions on the card, decision. And I thought that one was going to be one where there was a little bit more action. Cub fought well, though. I don't think I'm at the point where I'm looking at him and saying he has to retire. He's still putting up pretty good fights against good fighters. I mean, Andre Feely's good. Hakeem Dawadadu, or however you say his name, he's good. And I will say, Feely touched him up. Touchy-feely, like a lack of a, didn't mean to make that joke, but he did catch him a few times, and Cub recovered very well. So that chin hasn't gone anywhere, and one of the most impressive chins in the history of the UFC, all things considered.
Yeah, I take back what I said last week, where I was like, I think he's done. I don't think he's done anymore.
Yeah, I actually thought he landed probably, especially later in the fight, the more like damaging shots. But it was one of those, like, when I went to the judges, I was like, this is a coin flip. Like, there's no foul play here.
By the way, I don't know if everyone saw the video of Stipe ragdolling me before, but my lower right rib has just been killing me all day. I don't think it's broken. I think I would know if it's broken. I think it'd be in agony. But sheesh, that heavyweight champ, he's gonna kick John Jones's ass. I have a clip of me saying that to him. I'm like, you go in there and you fucking whoop his ass. And he was like, I'm gonna. Also, look out on the Spinnin Backfist channels. This week, I did a bunch of content that's kind of like evergreen stuff, and I'll put out videos from International Fight Week. I did kind of 2 different video ideas. Asked every fighter that I interviewed for their personal Mount Rushmore. I also asked almost every fighter interviewed the Brian Ortega question. How many of me would it take to beat you in a fight? Got a lot of funny answers, honestly. So look out for both of those this week. Also, want to shout out DraftKings. Unfortunately, the parlay did not hit tonight, but we will be back on DraftKings. And they say, the beautiful thing about being a sports fan, there's only 2 days the whole year without a game. 2. With so much happening and so much action, that makes just about every day game day at DraftKings Sportsbook. It's super easy for first-timers to get started. Try betting on something simple like picking a team to win. Go to the DraftKings Sportsbook app, select your team, and place your first bet. It really couldn't be any easier, any simpler. Baseball, golf, UFC, there's something for every fan of every sport to bet on DraftKings. And I know it's early, but football season will be here before you know it. If you're new to DraftKings, you got to check this out. New customers bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets instantly. It's an amazing deal. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use the code BACKFIST, that's all caps BACKFIST, for new customers to get $150 in bonus bets instantly when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings. The crown is yours. Shout out DraftKings. We really appreciate them for sponsoring the show, as always, and putting our parlays up there. Even though it didn't hit tonight, we got 2 out of 3 of the way there, right? We were 2 out of 3.
Yeah.
Under in the main event.
And
we
Piper by finish.
That's right. And that is, I think, the next fight on the card. That's a good transition. Piper knocked out MAB in about a minute. It only took him a minute. And in my blog, and I think the either Jack or Lee tweeted, he really took that Francis punch record to heart when they were like, no. He was like, yes. But yeah, great, bounce back win and pretty scary knockout, to be honest, because he clipped him. He started going down slowly, and then he hits him with I think it was kind of a hook uppercut combo thing, because he was on the way down anyway. But once he got flatlined, I don't even know if the camera was on him. His body started fucking shaking and trembling, and that was scary to be right there for.
I mean, that. God, yeah.
Piper, he did what he had to do tonight. He went in there, first minute KO, or maybe it was just after. That power is significant, and that fight, or that punch that pretty much knocked him out cold, was scary. I think I still think about Piper the same as I did him coming into this fight. I guess I am impressed with the bounce back. But he's a pretty good fighter, and he's a guy that is going to be around for a while, and great story, and great Northeast guy. He definitely took to heart people turning on him a little bit. He was, and you could tell throughout the week.
He yelled at the haters, yep.
And I can't blame him. I understand. And but he even called them out in the post fight, and good for him. I mean, he went out there and proved them wrong. So
he was
Abraham in the chat too. Sorry, Ev. Abraham in the chat just said, my daughter decided to choke on a pineapple during the Piper KO. I was so mad. I hope your daughter's okay, dude.
On a pineapple?
Shit. I hope she's okay, Abraham.
Jesus. I mean,
crazy comment.
I don't know if you guys noticed after the win when they were kind of waiting to like get the guy to like or Bruce Barber to like say like the Piper by knockout whatever, he was getting like choked up.
Oh yeah.
Like I'm telling you, there was a moment where he like kind of like had it, and then you could tell he was like getting, and then he kind of like just like brought himself back in real quick before it could really get like where everyone would notice. But I called it. There was like a 5-second moment that he definitely was getting choked up. But I mean, that was a vicious knockout. I'd be shocked if he didn't get a performance of the night bonus.
He probably got it. Yeah.
I would think he had to have. I mean, I don't know how he won it.
Would they give it to him, Alex, and then fight of the night co-main?
And they said they were doing 2 fight nights, but they said they were doing 2 fight nights,
that's
but they clearly were not too worthy of it. So tough card.
No. Yeah.
Fuck it. Honestly, what you do is you just give both of them an extra $100K. I'm saying like Lopez and give them the double fight of the night bonus for what they did.
Agreed. They deserve that.
And then and then Piper, Alex, boom, done.
Piper also called out Paul Craig at the post-fight presser because he doesn't like his face. Specifically, he was like, I just don't like that guy's fucking face.
He said it. He said it in the cage.
Oh, did he? I missed it then.
Yeah. He said he wanted Craig. He said Craig in the cage.
If I'm Joe Piper, I want Paul Craig.
Yeah, for sure.
Give me Paul Craig.
That's probably a good call out.
Like a great call out to get another victory. And I will say, even him getting choked up, getting all the hype, and then losing, and then having people turn on you does probably, it fucks with you mentally. So, I mean, I get why he's probably a little bit just, any win's a huge win in the UFC, but that one probably meant a little bit more.
I'm not a fucking psychologist or therapist here, but like his background, what we know about his relationship with his dad, I'm sure that adds to the entire mentality of people turning on you and rooting for you to lose. And I could be wrong, but that I would assume that.
I thought that too. I thought that too.
Then onto the main card, we kicked things off with Ian Machado Gary versus Michael Venom Page. We all knew going in that there was the potential for this to be a boring fight. Unfortunately, it was. It wasn't boring for the reasons I thought, though. Like I kind of thought it would be like that Wonder Boy, Darren Till type, like we're just on the feet the entire time, like, point fighting. The stuff on the feet was okay. Like Michael Venom Page found some success. I feel like second round, he did pretty well on the feet. But Machado Gary at Shoot the Box is just, he's trying to be a grappler now, which to his credit, it was a good game plan. He did what he had to get the win, I guess. A win is a win. It was just, I don't think his stock went up tonight.
It was honestly, I'll say I was surprised how much better of a striker MVP was than Gary. Like if that fight is strictly on the feet, like I think Gary might get knocked out if they did 15 minutes straight on the feet like that. But I mean, that's not the game we play. But I was shocked at. I mean, he did it to Holland. Holland too after the first round was like he's faster than we thought. I would imagine Gary probably felt the same way because he was. I mean, the few moments they had on the feet, he was definitely winning and landing some pretty big shots. It was getting close to landing like huge shots. So MVP is. I bet on him today, and I would do it again right now if they fought again and he was plus 130 or better. I would easily take him again. I mean, even I was kind of surprised the third round was unanimous for Gary. It was almost like I honestly felt like Page, he landed a few shots early. He was on top for probably like a minute and a half-ish, maybe a hair more. And then Gary was on his back for like 2 minutes plus maybe. I mean, he didn't do anything. Like I thought the third round was like a coin flip. I was like, oh, this is going to be like split written all over it. Mm-hmm. But I mean, they all went Gary, so I guess good for him.
I thought Gary won the third personally, but I thought it would be split in the moment. I was like, it was so close that like I feel like maybe he won just because he had back position, which makes him closer to a finish. But like, there wasn't a lot to judge the third round off of, really.
Yeah, I don't know. What do you do with Gary, right? Like, I don't know I don't know what you do with him.
Why can't they make that Colby fight? Like if Cole, like that's the fight to make still, I think.
They should. I would probably agree. It just sounds like Colby just doesn't want to fight him, but I agree.
Which is weird. Yeah.
And I don't know what you do to MVP now. He's kind of in a weird spot too.
He is. I mean,
Yeah.
you keep him with top 15 opponent wise, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Ian, I mean, he stunk tonight. It was boring. He got lucky in the first round. Wasn't really even a takedown. It was kind of a stumble from MVP. Then he got the back kind of in the third. Not kind of. He did. MVP not developing any ground game of any sort throughout his career has definitely come back to bite him. Obviously, this isn't the first time. I was shocked, like Ev, that decision was unanimous. I would have definitely considered 29-28 for MVP. If we're judging that fight as a true fight, MVP won that fight all day. In the MMA cage, I get it, but it just stunk. It was awful. I understand that MVP's style is really hard from another striker's perspective, but he just looked legitimately just not good.
I guess walkout was kind of funny.
His chin looked good, though, because MVP landed some serious shots. So I'll give him that. And then
the BBL Gary, that was funny.
Say that again?
The BBL Gary walkout. It's kind of funny.
Yeah. Yeah, it was just – I really thought he was going to win in that third round.
Yeah, just not the greatest fight, but also not the worst fight because Martin Buday versus Andrei Arlovsky happened tonight. Macy Chiasson versus Maria Buena Silva. This one only lasted 2 rounds. It was a pretty good fight while it lasted. They were going back and forth. Buena Silva was landing pretty heavily in the first round. And then when she got on her back and Macy got on top of her and landed that elbow, she got split open so fucking bad. It was insane. And she was shrugging, looking at the doctor like, why are you coming in? Why are you checking on me? I'm fucking fine. Let me keep fighting. The crowd's cheering her. Let her fight. Let her fight. I am on Media Row going, don't let her fight. Don't do it. She can't keep fighting with that thing. She had a hole in her face. It was like a gaping fucking hole above her eyebrow. One of the worst cuts we've seen in the UFC in a long time. But credit to her for, being too tough for her own good, essentially. But yeah, tough to start the card with a kind of boring fight and then a doctor stoppage. And then boring fight after.
You could have stuck a quarter in that thing. That thing was
enormous. You could have stuck a roll of quarters in that thing.
Enormous. Just an enormous cut. Yeah. The second they stopped it and you saw it for a second, I was like, they're stopping this fight. I've seen them stop it for way less than that. I mean, that thing was leaking. Honestly, even when they were reading the decision, I was like, can we get this girl some medical care? Why
Dana didn't want any part of her too.
Fight over? Why
Dana was like, stay away from me.
It's just leaking into her eye. I'm like, the fight's over. Let's throw some bad, whatever you got to do to fix that thing. Let's fix it now.
Yeah. Dana will probably post a picture later on. He loves posting the side-by-side of look at our plastic surgeon, best in the biz. But yeah, whatever. Roman Dolidze versus Anthony Smith. Am I crazy for just hating this fight? Maybe I was just bored and from the rest of it, but it just sucked to me. Anthony Smith was tired as fuck. I've never seen him so tired. I don't know.
That fight stunk. It was awful. Really disappointed in Anthony. Roman, great win on short notice. Up a weight class. He's Roman's good, but you'd come away from this probably really thinking Anthony Smith is just it's almost over. I don't want to say completely over. He can continue to fight, but he's just kind of over. Like that, if you were really wanting to do what you say you want to do, which is fight Poatan, you have to do more than you did in that fight. And it seemed like he was scared of Roman Dolidze's power, which is not great. Which, I mean, he does have power, don't get me wrong. But he's a 185-pounder. How are you gonna act when you're in there with Poatan? I understand Poatan doesn't have the same grappling skills that Roman has, but it's not like Roman's the greatest grappler of all time.
No. I don't know if this is true, but Abraham in the chat says Pereira, Macy, Talbot and Pfeiffer got a performance bonus. Touchy-Feely and Swanson got fight of the night. So they did a bunch of bonuses tonight, apparently.
Maybe I could see where like Ige and Lopez already got hooked up so much. They're just like, yo, like you guys are just good. Like
that's sort of what I was thinking. They had to pay them crazy money.
Yeah, I mean, I know there was reports that Lopez had already gotten like a big raise for just even accepting the Ortega fight at 155. He got a bump. I'm sure for this he might have got even some sort of bump or just like a listen, like they're getting taken. I'm sure Ige got taken care of tonight as he should have. Yeah, I don't give them all bonuses. Good for them. Not mad.
This guy Abraham in the chat might be the new Hot Billy with his comments tonight. This guy's the MVP of the chat tonight, and I don't mean Michael Venom Page. I mean most valuable player. He said Anthony Smith is just he's not good. Sorry, my choking daughter would whoop his ass. We like Anthony Smith. We're not an anti-Anthony Smith podcast. We're friends with him. Nice guy, but that's a funny comment for Abraham.
He's just in this weird spot. I think it's tough with some of these guys as they get older. A guy like him who's had almost 60 pro fights now, where like you see he has a fight where like against Roundtree where he like looks bad, like he gets knocked out early. Then he has one with Petrino where like he gets a big submission over a dangerous guy as a plus like 330 underdog, and you're thinking, oh, like is Anthony Smith back? Like he looks better, and then you see a night like this where he looked off from the second this fight started. He just looked like he was not in control. I mean, two of the judges gave him the third round at the end, but I mean he was cooked. He had clearly lost the first two. He wasn't he wasn't really pressing the issue in the third. I agree with you. He definitely was hesitant of Delice's power, which is like, I mean, Poatan, it would have been like literally like homicide, an actual homicide.
And then we kind of touched on the co-main event already, how it went. Shout out Ige, shout out Lopez. Ige finished strong. Great look for both of them to accept that fight. Hope they get great fights at the Sphere. And the main event, we also kind of touched on, but the knockdown at the end of round one, what a moment that. First of all, the walkouts couldn't have been more different, in my opinion. Like, Yuri has an aura about him, but his walkout sucks. It is the most generic, like, I'm a champion. Like, where does he like that song? Does he even like that song, or does he just think like they say champion in it, so I should walk out to this? It sounds like commercial music or some shit. Like,
it is.
Go to the UFC shop now. Like, that's what it sounds like. And then Poatan walks out, and it's the most badass. Like, this is the fucking definition of aura, big fight feel. Fucking screaming. I've been to his last 3 fights. It just gets better and better every time. The fans just go crazier and crazier for him. And then the stare down, pretty much the same exact stare down they did in November, but it was even better for the rematch. Like, that created a big fight feel. That stare down could have gotten fight of the night, I tweeted. Like, you could have just given that stare down the fight of the night performance bonus. I wouldn't have argued it. Then you get the knockdown at the end of the first, and you go, oh, Yuri's going to get knocked out. And then the second round starts. Boom, head kick. Shit was crazy.
Yuri just fighting with the way he does. He just fights like such a wild man with his hands down. Like, that just, even though he did win the first round and the first time they fought, it just feels like it was kind of like, I remember I said which I wouldn't agree with it. I said like Yuri's the side, he'll get knocked out though. He was not the side. Let's make that very clear. He was not the side. Poatan was the side 100 times out of 100. I almost feel like the way this fight goes, like if they fight 100 times, I feel like Poatan wins like 90. Because he's just like, maybe a couple times like he gets hit, but I mean, he's just going to land that shot. Like when he touches you, people just die. You see it, I mean.
But Yuri got clipped a couple times in the first, like he just didn't respect his power. Like he just kept coming forward the same way.
Even today, he kind of like, he got hit with like a little like a left hook, and Yuri kind of gave a little like, ooh, like that's all you got. And I'm like, guy, like you like don't
like,
do
dude,
that.
you don't want to do that. Yeah.
Like you've seen how this book, like you've seen the ending of the story. Like you see what happens. But one thing
I think he was going to get a takedown during the clinch moment.
He was close.
Yeah. Sort of, but like
not really. Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought like when they went into the clinch, I was like, ooh, that's smart. This is interesting.
He was just, it felt like a little bit more hesitant. It seemed like he was a little bit more scared of Poatan, which would make sense because he got knocked out by him, half a year ago?
Yeah.
But it was just the performance. even the first one felt so much better after it, because the first round, Yuri definitely won in the first fight. And this one, it felt like something was missing. I don't know why. And maybe that just goes to show how good Poatan is. And maybe it was because it was on short notice. But still, Yuri also throwing no leg kicks. He just his power. He landed a few punches on Poatan, but Poatan didn't really even feel him. It felt like I was just really disappointed in it. Goes to show how great Poatan is, and now there's a brand new discussion of pound for pound number one, which Dana has already continued his glorious glazing of John Jones in the press conference, saying he wasn't screaming, but he just kept saying, no, John Jones is pound for pound number one, which, I mean, I get it. He has to sell the MSG card and whatnot, but I think he genuinely
does truly believe it, though.
He does believe
it. Dana's like, Dana fights for that because he's like, he beat the fucking best in the world. Serial gone. Like, all right. Yeah, we know what you're doing there. Ev, what were you going to say before I cut you off there? I'm sorry.
No, you're good. Now that like Poatan has become such what I'm going to say, people are going to call me a hater on Poatan. I love Poatan. I think people are getting crazy now. The casual hype has gotten so astronomical now where it's like, this guy just knocks out everybody. And I think people are not appreciating that the matchmaking, like two things can be true. He can be amazing, but you also can acknowledge the matchmaking has been highly in his favor in terms of he still hasn't fought a grappler yet. Like he hasn't fought one yet. So, I mean, people are
and he's been knocked out brutally too.
And people are talking about him going up to heavyweight and fighting John Jones and Tom Aspinall. And I'm here to tell you right now that both of those would go incredibly poorly for Poatan. And I genuinely think your fight knowledge is determined by and people are like, oh, like no chance, like feed him Aspinall. I'm like, bro, you have no idea. You have no idea. You don't.
I'll be honest.
You don't understand. I'm like, that Aspinall in one round.
I'm not opposed to that.
Chokes him out or puts him out.
I'll be honest. I think you're probably right. I think Aspinall wins that fight, but I'm not opposed to it. I kind of like.
No, I'm not.
I would kind of like to see it.
But people are even saying like John, like it would just. I would listen. I know I'm like the big Aspinall guy. If Pereira cuts the line somehow, if Aspinall defends the interim belt, and then Pereira just says like, oh, I'll because that's the fight that John Jones. If he just like runs through Stipe or even just beats him, say even decision, whatever, he beats him, competitive fight. Pereira is the fight to take instead of Aspinall because he smokes Pereira. John Jones smokes him.
I think it goes the same way as the Gone fight.
Probably similar-ish. I mean, he might even ragdoll him even more with like if he gets a body lock on him, like if he wraps him up too, it's over. The fight is over in my opinion. He puts him on the ground and he submits him. Or like brutally like mounts him and like ground and pounds him to death. I don't think people understand like the size and just the grappling advantage would be so like it would just be like historical in a like championship fight. The gap in that scenario. I mean, it wouldn't even be like competitive in my opinion. Pereira just has such a shut off button that like maybe if he just lands that perfect shot of him like coming in immediately. Which he'll always have that chance no matter. He could fight a fucking grizzly bear and he'll have like that, like maybe he could do something, but if he doesn't, he's going to die in like 3 minutes.
Yeah. No, I agree with you there.
He may be, if John Jones is number one pound for pound, Poatan may have just cemented himself as number two. I know Islam.
Islam, yeah. I would put Islam over him.
Yeah, probably just from the perspective of all-around game, but
more well-rounded. He's faced a different variety of opponents. Like Poatan's never faced someone on the all-around skill level of Volk. I don't think.
Who would be next for Poatan at 205?
It should be Ankleev, but they're not going to do it.
Yeah, it should be him
because that's the guy also that could just beat him. And then they're going to be like, all right, this guy that no one's even like, if you're not a hardcore friend, you haven't even heard of him. And he just goes in there and like potentially like grapple.
No way DC knows who he is.
But Anklav also, the more I remember me and Jack Wheat said a while ago in the clip, kind of people went on us about like how Anklav would be the favorite. That's another one where I'm like, Anklav be the side, but then watch, like he'll just get like randomly knocked down like the third round after having success. Like Poatan's just that he's just that lethal. But if he goes up to heavyweight, I don't think he'll have that same thing. I just would feel much differently about it. The weight would be just so astronomical.
Yeah. That was the card, though. That was UFC 303. Also, quick shout out to Spinnin Backfist, friend of the program, Ben the Bane Davis. Karate Combat debut. Guy went in there, kicked some fucking ass. He texted me after the fight. He said, I threw that spinning back fist for y'all. Or he said, I threw that spinning shit for y'all. Because there's the spinning elbow.
Either the John Jones, there's like back
John
elbow.
Jones, exactly. Yeah.
But
he went in there, he whooped ass. And then he had the fucking call out of Colby Covington, which was hysterical.
The Karate Combat's so wild too, because like the guy, he's like slanted. Like you're like he's like on his back, but it's like against like a wall, like it's like, and he just throws the. That was great. Shut up.
Also, how about Dana Brown, as he calls himself, President Awesome of Karate Combat, the fucking president of Karate Combat, jumping into the pit when a corner man tries to fight a fighter, and he just chokes him out. Like, he definitely didn't need to choke him out, because once he put the rear naked choke on with Sam Alvey's arm caught in the rear naked choke, Sam Alvey's like, I swear I'm not trying to fight him anymore. As soon as he put him in, the corner man was like, I think he was like, okay, I get it. He just fucking sunk that in, choked him out, unconscious. This guy, he's a crazy personality. He also cornered a fighter tonight. I forget who, but he was in the corner of someone tonight. Yeah, he's a crazy guy. He went on Helwani not too long ago, and Helwani was like, how are you so like active or whatever? How are you so energetic? And he was like, oh, like, you know, I'm always on caffeine, coffee, energy drinks, and juice. And he was like, what kind of juice? Like green juice, stuff like that. He's like, no, steroids. So this guy's crazy. Yeah, this guy's great. And he calls himself Dana Brown.
Did you see? Somebody just brought this up in the chat. Pantoja was teasing this fight that nobody would guess who against. Is he just playing us, or could there potentially be somebody? He says in 4 months, which would be October. So that would be what, Abu Dhabi? Or is he, maybe he's, but who could it possibly be against that we'd be shocked by?
I don't
Ben
think
said in the chat, I don't think it's gonna happen. Hell would have to freeze over, but it'd be crazy if Demetrius Johnson came back.
Oh wow! I was gonna say everyone was saying the guy from Risen.
Oh, the new signee, or is he even signed yet? Or is it just rumored?
I think they did sign him, but people were hyping up that it could be him. But I was like, I just don't see a way where Dana gives him a title shot like in his debut. He's got to at least fight once or twice.
I don't think DJ is going to come back, if I'm being honest. I think he had a pretty rough relationship with Dana, and obviously that they could mend that bridge one day. Dana has done it with fighters where he's had worse relationships with them, but I just don't see it for DJ. He seems pretty content with his life right now, video game streaming, doing all the stuff he's doing.
Yeah, that was somebody at 135. Like, who could even be shocking at 135 for him? Like, if you told me he's fighting Young at 135, like, what's that even do for you? Like, what? There's no belt on the line.
Yeah. No, I think it'd have to be I think it'd be someone.
Well, it'd have to be, yeah.
Yeah, I think it'd be. Yeah, if it was 135, I think it'd be someone coming down. Which I don't think that's the case, but I think it's definitely a title defense. I don't think he's definitely not cutting like Marab to like go for double champ or anything like that. I don't think that'd be shocking. I mean, there's no way.
Do you think he's just fucking with people too? Is he just like doing the Dan Hooker thing? Dan Hooker just started announcing fights for himself, and then he was like, it's just fucking with everyone.
He was fucking with everyone, and then he said, "Yeah, actually, the Gilly worked against me. The Dustin Poirier Gilly worked." I was like, guys. He's probably kidding. He's been on like a week straight of trolling. Yeah, that clip was weird because you rewatch the fight back, and Dustin Poirier was like, "Yeah, actually, the Gilly worked against me. The Dustin Poirier Gilly worked." I was like, "Guys, he's probably kidding. He's been on like a week straight of trolling." Yeah, that clip was weird because you rewatch the fight back, and
I guess there's a brief moment where maybe his head like hit down, but it doesn't look like there was time for him to go out and come to. But I mean, like, who am I to say he's lying? I guess whatever, but like, I don't know. It seemed strange. All right, that was the card. I'm going to the airport at 4:30 in the morning, so I'm going to get to bed.
All right.
Thank you to everyone for tuning in. Thank you to everyone I met in Vegas. I met a bunch of people that were like, love Spinnin Backfist. I thought that was really cool. A bunch of people that said I'm in the chat every week. I thought that was cool too. So shout out to everyone I met out here. And yeah, we'll see you next week.